Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We'll talk to you guys really quickly before we got a super panel going on tonight about Q and Janelle situation. I mean, listen, I watched the show reunion, I watched the whole season, and then I saw this live that he did, and I posted up on my channel, and I had to say this, right? Janelle's disrespect of Q is very, very loud, right? The whole situation with Red and Herbert is just madness personified. And I think there's some really key lessons to learn on both sides here about respect and about how you should hold firm boundaries and how you shouldn't betray yourself just for a relationship. Q and Janelle got together and they had a relationship on the show. And when they had a relationship on the show, they showcased to us what I believe is how you do not want to be in a relationship. I'm going to play a clip from Q's conversation that he had on the live, and we're going to break it down a little bit, and then talk to you guys about the disrespect that I believe that Janelle actually inflicted on him. Because, and again, it takes two to tango, right? She inflicted some disrespect on him, but his behavior also lacked any boundaries in order to also be respected, right? So the issues with Red, the issue of Herbert, which actually is more tied to Janelle. So we're going to break it down just in the next like 20 so minutes before we get the super panel going on another live. But, if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification up, lows. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. That note will start you off, but don't worry about that. All right, we're going to get into the video and let's play it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to get to 100K and we'd love for you guys to support the channel in that direction. Numbers are killing it right now, so we appreciate y'all.
With some of the other ladies, I didn't have to defend Janelle. Janelle defended herself. The only conversation I had about the instances she had with other ladies was when I talked to her. We had our own conversations. Addressing that and trying to assert dominance and trying to make sure somebody listens or anything like that. Y'all have to also y'all got to remember, we only were in this process but so little time. So I'm still getting to know this person. So I don't have that trust from Janelle to be like, hey, yo, check yourself. Like, and I'm speaking for her, but I don't mean that much to her for her to hear my voice and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna shut up now. That's not how a healthy relationship is. If your partner does something wrong, you don't handle that in front of everybody. You have that conversation behind closed doors, because that's who you're with. You have to have that conversation behind. You don't have that in front of everybody. That's disrespectful, not only to the person that you're with, but to yourself. You don't do that. And a lot of people can't comprehend that, of having conversations with your partner in private. It's not whether you agree or not. You have that conversation in private, which is what we did. And I didn't see Janelle blow up until the house. That was the first time of me seeing oh, okay, but the house was a whole nother situation that I'm not even.
Now let's pause it first and foremost, because what he said before this was alarming, to say the least. When a man can tell you straight up, okay, when a man can tell you straight up, I don't mean that much to her to be able to say anything, then what kind of relationship did you guys actually have? I think you're very much aware of the power dynamics between you and Janelle. I think you're very much aware that you weren't as loved or as cared for as you might have cared for her. And I think you came to that understanding that in this relationship, Janelle comes first, right? Now, that takes two to tango, like I said, because you've understood, first and foremost, where you stand with Janelle. And that's because Janelle's also let you know where you stand with her, right? So the fact that you can get to a point where you say to somebody, you say to us, you don't think you matter that much, that if you say something, she would actually listen to you, is actually what we saw. When we saw the clip at the where you guys are talking in the bedroom and you're discussing and having a conversation and you're trying to let her know that maybe some of her behaviors you don't necessarily agree with, we saw how she didn't respect you. We saw how she didn't respect your voice, your authority, and your opinion. It didn't matter, right? It didn't matter. And so you know that when you're saying what you're saying, right, that you are not her first choice. And you also know that what she says, you can't combat. And the reason being is because she didn't have you didn't have her respect. Let's just go back and rewatch it just real quick.
You have to have that conversation behind. You don't have that
I want
for
to go
her,
back.
but like I don't mean that much to her.
Oh, my days, it gets worse every time
So
here.
I don't have that trust from Janelle to be like, hey, yo, check yourself. Like I don't, and I'm speaking for her, but like I don't mean that much to her for her to hear my voice and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna shut up now. Like,
Yeah, no, it's not even about trust. You don't have her respect. You don't have her respect. Let me tell you something. As a man, if I'm in a relationship with a girl, look, those who have your respect, when you say, hey, babe, pipe it down, stop, right? That's all you got to say. Stop. It's a bit like the parent and the child, right? Our mothers and our fathers, especially our mothers, we knew they give you a look and you stop. It tells you that there has been installation of respect. And so, and obviously a bit of fear as well, right? That's also included. But if you're talking about relationship wise, you're telling me you couldn't have been like, Janelle, put your hand on Janelle, Janelle, let it go. Let's talk about this later. You telling me you couldn't do that? Then you don't have her respect. And that's why I'm saying right now that Janelle's disrespect was hella loud, right? To know it's hella loud. And to want to be in a position or in a relationship with somebody who you know doesn't respect you speaks more volumes of Q and his esteem. I'm normally talking about women and their value system and their esteem. I'm questioning Q's esteem. I'm questioning Q's value. I'm questioning Q whether he knows his worth. Because why would you want to be in a relationship where you know that a person you don't mean that much to them, that when your voice speaks, we're at the house, by the way. This is not it's not early at the beginning of the show. This is at the house where you said already you already knew who you were choosing, where you already knew who you was going to be yours, who you already knew was the kind of person that you wanted to be with. You wasn't going to choose Lee, right? Lee wasn't even in the conversation by the house. By the house you'd already chosen. So if you're telling me that your voice had no weight to it, no authority to it, I'm questioning why you'd want to be in a relationship like that. And what you're getting out of a relationship where you hold no authority, that when you say something, it gets missed. When you say something, it gets dismissed. Why would you want to be in a space like that? Right? You thought you was winning with Janelle. Maybe you thought you was hitting above your league with Janelle. I don't know. But really and truly, again, there's a part that needs to be worked out there. Because that's something that you don't want to be ever. You don't want to ever be in that position where you can't say something to somebody. And you're saying that you love them, you care about them, and you're aware that your voice has no influence at all. Okay, all right. And what you're really saying is Janelle can't be controlled by me. And when I say that with all respect, Janelle won't listen to me. Janelle does whatever she wants to do. And guess what? That would happen in a relationship. She would be the exact same way with you. And I'm sure that was his experience in a relationship. She gonna do what she won't do.
like that's not how a healthy relationship is. If your partner does something wrong, you don't handle that in front of everybody. You
It's
have that
true.
conversation behind closed doors because that's who you're with. Like you have to have that conversation behind. You don't have that in front of everybody. That's disrespectful, not only to the person that you're with, but like to yourself. Like you don't do that. And a lot of people can't comprehend that of having conversations with your partner in private. Like it's not whether you agree or not. Like you have that conversation in private, which is what we did. And I didn't see Janelle blow up until the house. Like that was the first time of me seeing like, oh, okay, like, but the house was a whole nother situation that.
So let's also agree that he said he saw her blow up. He said he never seen Janelle blow up into the house. So she did blow up then. So it wasn't just a simple Janelle was defending. She had a blow up. That's what you're saying. You're saying by the time she got to the house, it was a blow up, right? Because you said you've never seen her blow up before the house, right? So that right there tells you everything you need to know, right? That right there should tell you everything you should need to know. So she did, you know, go over for you by that terminology. She went overboard in that time, right? But you couldn't check her. You couldn't check her in that moment. And again, checking does not mean you have to be disrespectful. A check really can be like, hey, babe, listen, right now, you're wilding a little bit. Bring it down. Yeah? Bring it down. That's it. Doesn't have to be, you know, babe, you're wrong. No, just like, okay, babe, look, I think it's time. Oh, look at that. I think it's time, baby. Let's go. You know what I mean? That's what it needed. Just like, oh, baby, look at the time. Janelle, look at the time. Let's go. Thank you. It's been good nights. We're going back. We're going to bed now, guys. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I told you as well, Felicia. Remember I said at the very beginning of the season, I said to you that story of the ex, there's something not quite right. I said when you got the tattoo of the girl on his finger, I told you, pay attention. I don't know what it is, but pay attention. I think it's come fruition. I think it's come full circle. At the very beginning of the season, I said that was the concern I had with Q was that tattoo on his finger, right? Was a tattoo on his finger. It was going to be a problem, and we see what the problem is. Boundaries, and letting people get away with things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was interesting. Then I went on to another clip. I want to bring another clip to discuss this real quick about Quinton's disrespect. I was watching Herbert exclusive on OWN, and let me tell you something. It don't get better. It don't get better. Let me just go back to here. They were asking Herbert about his connections and asking Janelle. And let me tell you something.
Are you interested in nurturing? But I think if you hadn't gone home, it would have been interesting to see where we kind of finished.
But your connection with Quinton was strong.
No, and y'all always.
Remember we was in this lounge that day?
I do remember.
And I told you, I said,
So your connection wasn't stronger with Quinton. It was. She said, "Why do y'all keep saying that? Do you know how rude that is? Oh my days! Especially after we know that Quinton, and especially when you know that she was going to bat, saying about how it had always basically that Quinton, the day that Quinton and Herbert were there together, when Quinton was going to leave, that's when she knew. That's when she knew it was real. Meanwhile, she's telling us right there that her connection with Quinton wasn't the strongest. It was more strong with Herbert, basically, by inadvertently saying it. Like deep it, Deep it. This is the woman that you said that loves you. The woman that likes you. Deep in the disrespect. That's embarrassing, yo. That's embarrassing to be in a place where you're on your girl that you're supposed to like, the girl that's supposed to be with you, literally can sit there and tell us, no, you know what? You're saying you keep saying that me and Quinton's connection was stronger. I'm trying to tell you, no, it ain't.
And at one point, you chose Quinton.
Right. Herbert is very nonchalant. And Quinton was just really applying pressure in the area.
So basically what she just said here, what she was saying basically in the midst of all of this is, listen, Herbert was very nonchalant, but Quinton was very on point. Basically, I chose Quinton because Herbert wasn't on point. Not because I liked him, but because really and truly, Herbert wasn't on point. Now, again, the disrespect is very loud and very, very clear. Okay, this is somebody who said that, at the end, you're saying you two were in a relation, getting to know each other, whatever. You guys chose each other. And yet, in all honesty, when you deep it, she had a great connection with Herbert than she did with you. And she told you that on national TV in the reunion. Do you know how peak that is? That is nuts. That is crazy, man. You know what I mean? That is crazy. So yeah, that was interesting to see that part. And I think, let me play a little bit more.
Areas that were challenging for Herbert.
Here, if you think you guys would have communicated better, you think we'd have had a shot?
Yeah.
Herbert just had a little bit of persistence, baby. He would have had multiple women, honey.
I had a little bit.
Honey,
Oh,
baby,
come
you,
on.
baby,
Come on, I got
it's all right.
Hey.
We needed more energy.
So listen, yo, it's wild out here, baby. Listen, you know, how is it that Herbert is getting more gracious energy than than Quinton? Now, the final part of disrespect that I think is very loud and clear is literally the part uh where let me see. The part that is political is that Red. What Red said is crazy to me. Let me just say this. What Red said was crazy. That on 2 occasions on this reunion, Red has said some mad stuff. The first one was when we did it last week, where we saw him talk about him and Janelle still talking and they're still contacting each other. Bearing in mind, remember, that was shot way before Quinton does his live. So that was shot way back. So Red said that about they're still in contact with each other. And you saw Quinton's face at the first one. Then part 2, Red is asking the question about whether this is exclusive or not. And you can tell again once more that it was disrespectful on his part too again, right? So you had 2 disrespect from Red on the show, and yet Quinton didn't respond for either one. And Janelle didn't back you either. Janelle didn't back you either. It said they had a little chickle chuckle at your expense. You're being disrespected. And the reason why you're allowing yourself to be disrespected is because, again, esteem, value, worth. And because those things are not on point, and because those things are a problem, and because those things right now are not making sense, because you've sold technically your soul in a sense, right? You sold yourself short. And so now those particular things, they are not coming in a positive way. They're being used against you, your worth, your esteem, and your value. And in that point, for Red to say what he said, he saw the cracks in your relationship, but he also saw the weakness in you. And so now we see that Quinton, unfortunately, is broken up with Janelle. They're no longer together. And in that particular aspect, Red was disrespectful. But again, Quinton didn't say anything. Now, I respect the fact that he's obviously a person that's very disciplined. But 2 disrespects. You got both Red and both Red and Janelle. Yeah, problem. All right, listen. I'm not gonna go too deep. Like I said, we got a live in about 15 minutes, guys. So if you're here, it's almost 400 of you guys. We're gonna be jumping on a live in about 15 minutes. We're gonna be talking about Ready to Love on the super panel. This ain't the super panel. Okay, this ain't the super panel. This is just a quick conversation. I'm definitely going to do a few videos tomorrow about this Q situation. I definitely want to talk about Janelle as well, because I'll read out the statement that Janelle put, and I'll put a proper breakdown on the Janelle's situation. Because I think this is also another thing which, for me, I ain't gonna lie to you, Delulu. It's Delulu, and I'll always keep it real. If I don't agree with certain behaviors, I'm gonna tell you straight, I don't agree with certain behaviors. If I don't think certain things are cool, I'm gonna tell you straight, it ain't what it is. Okay? All right. If it ain't what it is, it ain't what it is. I want to read out the statement because I think it's just kind of interesting. The statement says, "This chitterling circuit journey has finally come to an end. I set out to show women that they could shop as their authentic self. I did that. I set out to disrupt the status quo of matchmaking, empower women of all sizes that they could have who they wanted. I did that. I set out to prove that you could honor your standard of beauty, stands, or augmentations. I did that. I set out to hold down the 40 plus girls. I did that. I set out to show people that you can love God, stand on his word, and still be incredibly flawed, yet favored. I did that. In fact, hold on, before we go any further, I think we need a call and response. We need a call and response, guys. As I'm reading it out, I need you to say, I did that. When it gets to that point, I need you to have a call and response. and say, I did that. Okay. All right. So let's just practice this real quick because I want to get this right. Okay. I want to get this right because when you talk to your neighbor, turn to your neighbor and says, I did that. Turn to your neighbor on your left and say, I did that. Turn to your neighbor on the right and say, I did that. Okay. Because we want to make sure we get this right. Okay. So when I say obviously get to a point when you're reading it, as soon as it gets to a point when I take that kind of breath, I will need you to say, I did that. Okay. All right. Now let's go. I set out to show women that they could show up as their authentic self. I did that. Thank you. I set out to disrupt the status quo of matchmaking and empower women of all sides that they could have who they wanted. I did that. Thank you. I set out to prove that you could honor your standard of beauty standards and all augmentations. I did that. Thank you. I set out to hold it down for the 40 plus girlies. Thank you. I set out to show people that you can love God and stand on his word and still be incredibly flawed, yet favored. Hallelujah. God bless you, saints. God bless you, saints, for being a part of this. It is finished. I mean, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. She dropped the I am on the cross situation. She said, it is finished. She said, it is finished. Her and Jesus definitely gonna have a talk. Okay. She definitely gonna have a talk with Jesus when he's in heaven. He gonna be like, it is not finished. You did not finish it. I'm the only one that can finish it. Okay. To the cast of the season, we share a unique experience that lives only amongst us. Instead of supporting one another collectively through this tumultuous process, we allowed our egos to overpower us and rob us of what we could have been an impactful moment. We could have done awesome things together as a collective. Instead, you allowed yourselves to be manipulated by the machine, pseudo celebrity and pride, and an opportunity for excellence was truly missed, and we all played a part in this. Now, what's interesting is, and fair play to her, she did say that we allowed our egos to overpower us and rob us what could have been impactful. We could have done some awesome things. I love that fact she's putting the we in there because I really would have loved to see what she meant, what she would have said for herself. Because what could she have done? And that's the real question. What could have you have done, sis? Like we have to be very honest. If the whole cast is moving to you, then you've got to be real with it. If your whole cast is looking at you like you're the problem, you've got to look at you and be like, what are you doing to be the problem? And then I think the final part is then castmate. And so look, as she tried to say, like, we could improve on this particular aspect, then she goes on to now really try and drop the bars on them. Says, then castmates one by one with their bruised egos took to Facebook groups of equally miserable people struggling blog sites and YouTube channels that aren't monetized to talk about me. Well, let me tell you this. First of all, she ain't talking about me because first and foremost, my shit be banging. I'm going to tell you that straight, okay? We don't struggle around here, okay? There ain't no struggle love around here. So I know she ain't talking about me because I've been giving that good feedback, okay? We talk about behavior around here. I'll tell you straight, I don't be playing with nobody, but we get some good content around here. And struggling YouTube channels that aren't monetized talk about me and to lie when the truth was good enough. You didn't talk about your brand or businesses, not your love connections on the show, and not what you learned from the process, but just me. So yes, you are in fact obsessed, but it's okay. I forgive you, and I hope that amidst the rubble of this experience, you are able to find peace, real reality, real names, a functioning website for your pseudo businesses, a dictionary to increase your vocabulary, and a board certified psychologist to help you unpack your childhood traumas and low self-esteem. And it's really interesting because I would say that she would need to unpack her own trauma of childhood issues as well because of what she's gone through. Now that's really funny. I think that's quite interesting. I can't lie to you. I think it'd be really interesting that she does this. And yes, there's an unhealthy grandeur thought process. I think there's an unhealthy grandeur estimation of oneself from Janelle. So yeah, Miss Pretty asked, did I ask her for an interview? I surely did, and we got into a little bit of a conversation. So without telling you guys what was said, because I don't bring up what's said behind scenes, but she declined the original invitation. But we're hopeful, maybe it can change. We're hopeful it can change, but we definitely asked, and she did decline the interview. I think she felt like I was a little bit mean towards her. I mean, I think I was quite fair, but you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, so I don't think anyone's actually obsessed with her. But then she goes on to mention to Anthony Sylvester, Simone Slaughter, and Nawara Blue, respectfully, you are the scum of the earth. Now, I don't know if these are producers or whether she's made up names for certain people. The seeds of dissension you've sown, your lack of integrity, and your all-round poor work ethic are befitting for where you found yourself in life. At my footstool, may God have mercy on you for how you treated his chosen. Now, I'm not going to break it down here. I will break it down another time. But that for me was nuts. All right. I'm gonna love you and leave you guys because we definitely gonna be on tomorrow. We're gonna have a live with Chris as well. So we're gonna be on at 6 to 11, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. EST. We definitely gonna have a conversation. So we're gonna be on there tomorrow with Chris. But today we're gonna be on with a super panel. So in about 10 minutes, we're going to be on with the super panel and we're going to have a conversation then. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notifications of the uploads. We'll see you guys in about 10 minutes time for our super panel. Much love, much appreciation.